Welcome back. CCENT, this is the ICND1, Part 2. Let me apologize ahead of time. I've been trying to get over a cold, and today is the sniffles. So I'll do my best to kind of pause in between so I don't keep, sneezing away. Alright, let's get started on this thing. So what you notice is I now have two PCs. One's on the 1 network, one's on the 3 network. 2 switches and 2 routers. And if you look over on the right, we see that I'm going to be talking about VLANs and switch ports, some new show commands. We have telnet, and then some passwords. So this will be a really useful nugget, especially if this is fairly new to you. So we're going to go inside this router 1 for a minute. And you notice that I went right into the router without having to set a password. That scares me. So let's go ahead and fix that. We're going to go into privilege mode. We're going to go into global configuration. And we're going to say line console 0. I want to affect this console that I'm looking at. Enter. We're going to set a password. And we're going to call it Cisco 1. Obviously not the best password. But this is good for a lab environment. And we need to, this is the part a lot of people forget to do, is you need to go ahead and say login. If you say login, that will go ahead and present the credentials to the user when they come in the user mode. If you say login local, it will require a username and password for each person that's stored in this local database. We're going to go ahead and do local. Enter. So let's test it out. I hit Control Z, I'm back to privilege mode. We're going to exit out. And then when we hit enter, we're now presented with a password. Okay, I'm going to type in Cisco 1. And we're back to user mode now. So, now that we have that going, let's go ahead and lock down the privilege mode. We're going to go into global configuration mode again. And we're going to type in enable password, and we'll call this one Cisco 2. Enter. We're going to verify that. So this one was Cisco 1. Bingo. Try privilege mode. Wow, bingo, right? Things look great. But things aren't so great. When we pull a show command up, show running config, we'll see that, okay, enable password Cisco 2. And if we scroll down, line console 0, password Cisco 1. Now, what if you're reviewing this, running configuration, and somebody's over your shoulder? Someone happens to glance down. Well, you've now compromised your passwords. So one way we can fix this is go into global configuration mode and type in service password encryption. Now when I hit enter, what it does is it not only encrypts passwords we currently have, but any future passwords it will also encrypt. So we'll go back to privilege mode and type in show running config. We could have done a do show run there as well. Hit enter, and notice here, boom, right? The passwords have now been changed to hexadecimal. That's our privilege mode password. We scroll down further, and there is our line console password. So life is good, right? Well, it makes it more difficult, but let's say somebody is able to remember that password. They look over your shoulder. They have enough time to actually write it down, jot it down real quick, or just memorize it. What you can do is you can take that password and open up a website like this called Cisco Cracker. Put that in there and watch. There's our password, Cisco 2. So notice here that it's not a big deal to crack these passwords. What it does prevent, these type 7 passwords, it prevents people from shoulder surfing, but it doesn't prevent somebody that's trying to get in. So, with that in mind, let's set a more secure password. We're going to go ahead and get back into global configuration mode. And we're going to type in enable, but instead of the word password, we're going to type secret. And let's call this one Cisco 3. Again, not the best passwords, but just easy for us to remember in this lab. Enter. So now when we do a do show run, we see that secret is in fact scrambled up. It's using MD5, which is, nearly impossible to crack. It's a much more secure version. Notice here we still have our old password. Let's see what happens now. I'm going to go disable to go back to user mode. I'm going to enable. And let's see what password it requires. I'm going to type in Cisco2, which was our initial password. And notice there it's not working. Cisco3, and we're in. So if you have a secret password, it will always override just a regular password at the privilege mode. Here's a thought though. You want to always remove that old password. Maybe you're working on a box that had the old password type on it. Make sure you remove it, because what happens is this. What if, for example, you decide to use the same password? You're like, okay, this password's not encrypted, or not encrypted to what I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and now add a secret password with the same name. Well, all someone needs to do is memorize the enable password 7 number, letters and numbers, and they're going to get your secret password. So we want to remove that so there's no reference to it. How we do that is we're going to go back into global configuration mode, and we're going to type no enable password. Now when I do a do show run, you'll see it was in fact erased. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go back into line console 0. And this time, instead of setting changing the password, we're going to type in login local. We're going to go ahead and exit out of that. We're back to global configuration mode. And we're going to make a username and password. I'm going to make a username as user1. Password is user1. Username of user2. Password of user2. And we're going to do a do show run. You'll see those passwords were added. And notice that those passwords are now using that service password encryption. So let's test it out. So that first password was Cisco1. Now look. It's not asking for a password, is it? It's asking for a username. So let's try our user1, password user1. And we're now in. Now if you want to secure this further or move those passwords off the device itself, that's a little bit more of an advanced topic. You'll see a little of this in the ICND2, much more of it if you pursue the CCNA security. You start dealing with things like TACX Plus and different kinds of radius options. But for right now, those are the basics on passwords for ICND1. Okay, so we're going to go back into privilege mode, Cisco 3, global configuration mode, and let's remove that secret password for now, just so I don't have to keep typing it in every single time. It's been removed. I can prove that by doing a do show run, and you see it was in fact removed. So let's remove a couple items from our list here. We can go ahead and remove secret. We can go ahead and remove the line consoles. We did the username and password. We did the service password encryption. Yes, I saw an extra command there. No problem. I'll add it in a bit. Okay. So let's do this now. Let's go back into our line console 0. And let's set a timeout on it. I want to set a timeout in such a way that, let's say I get up from my desk and I'm gone for, let's say, 30 seconds. It would be nice if it went ahead and logged me out automatically so my console wasn't still up, to prevent people from jumping on my device and accessing my routers and changing passwords or just doing malicious things that would cost us our job. So the command we're looking for is going to be the exec timeout. Hit the question mark and notice how long do you want to wait in minutes? Well, in this example, just to show how it works, I'm going to go ahead and say 0 minutes. And timeout in seconds. Just for this example, we're going to do 5 seconds. Hit enter. And we're sit and wait for a minute. Not really for a minute, right? For 5 seconds. And notice we are in fact out. Going to go back in as user 1, user 1. Let's get back into line console. And let's change that timeout. We're going to do 0, 0. What 0, 0 is great for is a lab environment, meaning it's not going to time out. Look, I wasn't fast enough, was I? User 1, user 1. It's like a race. It's a little game we're playing here. Line console 0. Exact timeout 0, 0. And in a lab environment, this will never exact timeout on you. Another one I like to set is called login synchronous. And what login synchronous does is it prevents router messages from cutting you off as you're typing. So what I mean by that is this. On a production router, you're getting these messages come back constantly about what's going on with it. What happens if you don't turn on login synchronous, as you start typing things out like EXE, you'll see a message come up. Then you got to pick it up with C-TI, message comes up. And you get the idea is what login synchronous does is as you're typing, it holds back the message until you're done. You hit enter, and then the messages come through. This is something I wish would be on by default, but it's not. So let's wipe out those 2 items here, login synchronous and exact timeout. All right, that is part 2. Hopefully you found that useful. We'll go ahead and pick up where we left off on part 3. Thanks again.